Kevin Reinstein. Chris, when you say you had to go to different orgs to solve problems with a personal touch, can you give an example? Also, I tried to read Dianetics. After 230 pages, I gave up. It is repetitive garbage. Regardless, looking at the bridge, the level of sophistication is amazing, as well as the infrastructure of Scientology. Do you believe LRH came up with everything himself? When I would go out on projects and missions for the Sea Organization, we always had all kinds of interesting and different things we were doing. The very first one that I ever did back in 1995, shortly after I got into the Sea Org, was I had to go out to Kansas City with another Sea Org member, and we had to basically make their rent for them because they were on the brink of being evicted from their building, hadn't paid their rent in months. And this was a very common problem back in the 90s with Scientology orgs, with the local city churches. This was a problem we were solving all the time, is demanding, putting demand on them to make money, just to keep their doors open, much less to send money up. These Class 5 orgs, these local city churches, as I call them, have not been viable operations and have not been big money makers for the church for a very, very, very long time. It's been pretty bad, pretty sorry state of affairs with those things. So the first one I ever did was going out there, and I was trying to, I'd never been to Kansas City before, didn't know anything about it. It was, I think, late summer. It was god-awfully hot and humid, and I had to try to get the place to get people in and service them, try to create some goodwill, while my partner on the project, the one who was running it, she was going around with the person who ran the Kansas City org, and they drove around did door to door, and trying to get people to give money to pay for services so that the org would be making income so that it would have money to pay its rent. And that was the first project that I did. Other projects that I did included going out and kind of boosting delivery, trying to get them to call in more people because they weren't doing a very good job of that. There were a group of people in 1996 who were trained up at FLAG for every organization in the world, teams of 2 to 3 staff, and within about a year or two, some of those staff started disappearing. They couldn't stay on staff. They weren't making it, but they were considered really top of the line trainees who had been trained to do this very specific job. So one of the things I ended up doing was going out on projects to get these people back. I went up to Seattle and I think Portland and a couple other places, Orange County, and tried to get them to honor their contracts, come back into the church, and get back on staff, right? Because it was that big of a deal. So I had that kind of work to do, of course, and I've also talked about, later in my Sea Org career doing recruitment and doing, staff recruitment, not new Scientology recruitment, but trying to get people to join staff at the churches, and also recovering people to Scientology, because we found in trying to get more staff, there weren't enough Scientologists. And so I had to go out and round people up, again, knocking on the doors and, hi, you used to be in Scientology and now you're not. I'm here to see if I can help figure out why and maybe get you back, was sort of the pitch. So, things like that, all kinds of stuff like that. And I did a lot of projects and missions, and I generally had a pretty good time doing them, although some less than others, because there was always a tremendous amount of pressure. But I say I had a good time doing them because at least I was away from the base, and I got to eat better and sleep better and actually be out in the real world and not stuck on the base. So that's why it was a good time. It wasn't a good time necessarily because of the work I was doing. It was because of all the benefits of getting the hell out of the crazy cloistered Sea Org life. So anyway, that's there you go. Oh, and as far as you're asking for a twofer here, so as far as do I believe LRH came up with everything himself? No, I know for a fact that he didn't. And I've talked about L. Ron Hubbard's plagiarism and various things that he had ripped off from others. And there's just tons and tons of stories and information about this, from the study technology to organizational structure to the TRs even, you know, some very, very fundamental basic stuff. I believe, and I'll just comment very briefly here, but I believe that Mary Sue Hubbard had a lot more to do with stabilizing Scientology in the early days and getting it going organizationally and keeping it going than L. Ron Hubbard did. I think L. Ron Hubbard couldn't organize his way out of a wet paper bag, and that Mary Sue was the one who sort of strong-armed organizations into compliance and also kept him from going in and raiding all their money and making everything bankrupt like he had done with Dianetics. I think she put some degree of control on him and got that ship steered in the proper direction behind the scenes, so that Scientology actually established itself and grew, whereas Hubbard, when he was running things by himself, had destroyed the organizations of Dianetics twice. You know, he went bankrupt, and then Purcell bailed him out in Kansas, and then he went bankrupt again. So the change when he made it into Scientology was that Mary Sue was involved. And that's pure supposition on my part. I haven't talked to anybody who could verify that. It is just my observation and supposition based on what I know of L. Ron Hubbard and his character, and the timing of when Mary Sue came along and what happened with Scientology after that. So there's some interesting stuff for you.